It's that moment of truth. This is that moment of truth. You guys know me. I need to see it. I need to see it or it's not good. All right. So right now we're over on the YouTube. I'm seeing it on the YouTube, I think. Yep, there it is. Good morning, YouTube. How are you? Let's see. Rockfin, are you with us? Up, there we go. Got to hit the button on the Rockfin. Thank you for your patience, folks. We are on the Rockfin. We are on the YouTube. We are on the Periscopes. It's not plural, but I made it plural. We're working. What's up? Good morning if you're in the morning time zone. Now, I usually do the morning time zone second, but I'm doing it first today because all of my guests, that's right, guests, plural. There are 75 people that are going to be on the show today. No, I'm just kidding. There's just 3, but still, it's more than usual. But they're all on the West Coast, like me. We're all on the West. We actually, you know what? We've covered between the 4 of us. We have covered the coast. And I don't know if they're going to tell you their locations. That'll be up to them. You guys know me. I'm in San Pedro, California. But anyway, so good morning to all my West Coasters and all my guests who you'll be meeting shortly. Good afternoon to everyone out east. How was lunch? Was it good? I hope so. A good evening if you're in an evening time zone. And to everybody in the future, if you're a day ahead, New Zealand, Australia, you got a day on everyone else. You're a day ahead calendar-wise. Fix climate change for the rest of us. Send us a text and tell us what you did. Then we'll all do it. Then the world's good. You're a day ahead. No pressure. Come on. Happy Monday. Happy Mondays. Good band. And it's Music Monday. All right. Special thanks to everyone who makes this show possible. Our friends over at CT.com, ZHITEA.com. Their tea kind of rules, and you can get the tea wholesale now because of the pandemic. Show them some love. And hopefully a Ron tea is coming. Still working on that. I know it's been taking a minute, but there might be a Ron tea. And when there is, y'all will be the first to know. Also, our friends over at triageoil.com, TRIAGE oil.com. Trendy name, makes topical pain oil for your body. It works wonders. I use it myself. And our friends over at Indie Left. Indie Left is the only place to find articles and videos from all the content creators you know and love. I'm on their platform. They update it twice a day. So it's a great platform to get curated content from all the people you know and love. To learn more about everything they got going on and to subscribe to their Discord community. They're active over on the Discord. I use Discord, but I'm not great at it. Like I use it. I'm competent at it, but I'm not a Discord. I'm not a Discord connoisseur. I'm not a Discord expert. My editor, Joe, was explaining Discord to me once, like I had just discovered the internet a week ago. He's like, Discord, this is what it can be. I'm like, dude, all right, I'm not that old. Come on. I know how to use Discord a little bit. But anyway, check out their Discord community and check them out online at independentleft.media. That's independentleft.media. All right, without further ado, let me bring in my guest today. So there is an exciting action coming up with the organization Whole Washington, which is an organization trying to get single-payer healthcare to Washington State. And we have 3 folks involved with that process. And we're just going to go ahead and bring them all in and welcome all of them. We have Georgia Davenport, who has been on this show before. We have Kenny Ballantyne, who is a filmmaker along the ride for all this. And we have Laura Fielding, who I believe knitted this red beret that I have. But without further ado, what's up, everybody? Good to see you. And here's my red beret.
Awesome.
Yeah. Did you make this, Laura? Is that correct? No, you didn't.
Actually, sorry.
All right, go ahead. Ask the question.
I have to ask a question because you said that you would have a Ron Flacone tea.
Yeah.
What flavor would that be?
Oh, so nothing has been locked down yet. But what we're trying to do, we're trying to make a Ron tea. It would be a black tea, and it would be very, very highly caffeinated. Basically, we're trying to get it so that the cup of tea and the cup of coffee are right on par with each other. So you're not, because sometimes you want the refreshing flavor or just aroma or vibe of tea, but you need the punch that only a cup of coffee can give you. Well, now you get both with the Ron tea that has yet to be made, but will hopefully happen. It's like the pony of tea, really. It's like everyone gets a pony with this tea. But yeah, they're working on it. Hopefully it's going to happen. But I love both coffee and tea, but sometimes I just want a cup of tea, but I'm like, no, but I really need I need the punch in the arm that only coffee can provide. So that's the story on the raw tea.
Sounds good. I'm sorry about interrupting the berets. Please go back to the berets. My apologies.
No. So Laura, you did not make this beret. Someone else made it.
Yours is crochet, and I recognize everybody's work, and I know exactly who crocheted it. That's Evelyn Lopez. She is local Tacoma. So she's a crochet artist, and she is who because we very particularly picked everybody's out kind of by intuitive means. And so, yeah, it was Evelyn Lopez.
Well, thank you, Evelyn. I love it. It is lovely, and I've worn it quite a few times. And I'm not going to pretend like I understand everything you just said about crochet and stuff like that. But all the berets I have ever seen are lovely. So I love all of them, be they crochet or a different method. Is that right? Is that what you would call it? It's a method. All right, cool. All right, so let's start basic, and then we're going to get into the event itself. What is Whole Washington?
Whole Washington is a universal healthcare campaign here in Washington State. We work on state level legislation and initiatives, and we also support Medicare for All federally. We have hundreds, if not thousands, of volunteers. It's hard to keep track sometimes. We're all over the state. And we're gearing up to run an initiative in 2020, and then COVID-19 hit, so we delayed. But we're going to be running an initiative this year. Our bill did not make it out of committee again, and I can go into the reasons why later on. But that's kind of an overview of who Whole Washington is.
So one of the things, and Georgia, you and I have had this conversation before, but I'd like to get everyone's take on this as well. One of the things that some folks in the kind of movement for universal healthcare, one of the places of pushback you'll see a little bit is people will say, well, a federal bill is much more ideal than going state by state. And I'll just give my perspective first, then I'll turn it over to y'all. I agree with that. I agree with those people. I'm like, you're right. A federal bill would be much more desirable and much more ideal. However, unfortunately, things aren't looking super great in that department. And you're going up against one of the most powerful lobbies in the world, quite frankly, the insurance industry. What that means is we got to fight this by every means possible. And going one state at a time is one of those means. Is it 100% ideal? No, but it may be our only option. And any state that has a single payer system is infinitely better off than any state that doesn't. And personally, if I had to make a prediction, I would say this is the only way it's going to happen. One state, whether it's Washington State or California or whoever else, one state's going to get it. The rest of the country is going to see, oh, wait, nobody in Washington State goes bankrupt over a broken arm. That doesn't happen there anymore. They figured it out. And then other states are going to follow suit, and eventually you're going to get federal Medicare for all. That's what I think. Would you all agree with that? What is your take on that topic?
Well, I want to let the two Whole Washington insiders respond first, then I'll chime in.
Go, Laura, why don't you go first?
I seem to be getting a little internet delay, so sorry about that.
Oh, all right.
Laura, go for it.
Okay. Well, I just, it of course it's more ideal, but we have, as everyone I think that's watching this knows, we have a president who said that he would veto Medicare for all if it ever lands on his desk. And I would say, based on the last two presidential cycles, that hopefully we have learned as a movement what happens when we put all of our strategy eggs in one basket. The bottom sort of falls out from underneath the platform. So I would say moving forward, we need to have a synergistic, solidarity, multi-pronged approach where we're building power and building community and organizing at the state level. Every state that can run a ballot initiative should hopefully be gearing up to do that. They could use Whole Washington as a template if they have any questions. And what this is going to do is position us much, much more strongly moving into 2024 or future opportunities. I'm not sure what everyone thinks is actually necessary, what will be necessary to, as you say, take on one of the biggest, most powerful lobbies in the world. I can assure you that having Whole Washingtons all across the United States will much more strongly position us to pass national improved Medicare for all. So what we need to do is to have people who, sorry, I'm wondering if my these are messing up on me a little bit. If we could have, the solidarity of everybody recognizing that we're all pushing at every single level, and not kind of be caught up in this debate anymore. This isn't really to relitigate stuff, but I wonder what would happen if we hadn't had people all along the way sort of undermining or pouring cold water on so many great organizers all along the way. I think it's important to note that because we need to put our best foot forward now in this moment. And so it's not to relitigate that, it's just to say, let's scoop ourselves up and press forward with that strategy. Thank you.
And as for myself, why I got so excited about Whole Washington and the Red Berets as a filmmaker, as like, that's a story I want to cover and tell people about, is because I actually see action happening, like something. People are actually doing something here, and I'm so exhausted on waiting for something to happen federally. I mean, I was a full-on blue believer in the promise of Obama, right? And I was certain when I voted for him that one of the first things would be universal health care. Like I just full-on believed that. I rode the ACA train. I was a big supporter. My name is on the legislation as a co-signer. They did this thing where everyone could they sent me like a certificate I was super proud of. And nothing's changed. Like nothing's better. Nothing.
I like how you describe it as a train, because that's just a fun visual in my head. Like you're just on the train, and then Obama's just like, Kenny, here's your stop. This is my stop. The premium's still terrible. Well, this is your stop.
Yeah.
For change.
A train
like,
this
train sucks.
Yeah, it was a train with no light at the end of the tunnel. So I see what's happening in Washington. And there are other states. There's a really cool movement going on in New York. There's potential of something happening here in California, which is very cool. And it's like, sure, a lot of the financial aspects make more sense on a federal level. But how long are we just going to sit and wait? Like, how long are we going to sit and wait? And we have this precedent of what's happening with like legalizing marijuana, one state at a time. It's creating a movement that's just very clearly, the writing's on the wall. It's going to become a federal thing,
right?
Eventually, So it excites me, and I think it should excite everybody, and that's what I hope to share with my filmmaking.
You sure you don't want to get on another train?
No more trains.
You're going to stick with I have a train for you.
I'm not on the Biden train.
There's a $400 a month train. You want to get on this train?
Yeah, you're lucky if it's $400 a month. I got 4 kids. So.
Georgia, I want you to weigh in on this.
Yeah, so I kind of lost my internet connection for a second. Did anybody mention Canada?
No.
Oh, okay. So Canada actually passed universal health care province by province, starting with Saskatchewan. And like Kenny said, and I'm sure Laura said it when I don't know where I went with my internet. Once one state does it, I really feel like it'll be the example for the rest of the country, and the rest of the country will say, why don't we have this? And federally, it's one of those things like legalizing marijuana, and I'm glad you brought that up, Kenny, because it's almost a lightning rod issue now. If you don't support legalizing marijuana, that's you get in trouble politically for that these days. So I feel like that's what's going to happen. If one state gets universal health care and everybody says, oh, look how amazing this is, then everybody's going to all of a sudden be on the better train.
Yeah. Well, we were joking about it before the show started, but I mean, I'm very serious. If universal health care becomes a thing in Washington, my time as a California resident is ending very quickly.
Well, yeah, I wasn't kidding either. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
We were joking about it. I was like, were you? I wasn't.
Okay.
I lived in Seattle and loved it up there. And yeah, if they had single payer health care, I would strongly consider.
Well, I spend so much on healthcare that would practically be like being paid to move there. That's like free rent pretty much, right?
Well, I just want to say that you all have AB 1400. I think that's the name of it. So, and it looks like it's moving to New York.
We also have a governor. We also have a governor who's pretty much in line with Joe Biden on the send me the bill and I'll veto it kind of attitude. So we'll see.
I thought I actually thought Georgia was going to say, you all have a place to stay. Just letting you know. I was like, well, that's he has 4 kids. Did you not hear that part? That's very generous of you, but I don't know.
Thank you. I'm down.
But we'll be there. All right. Well, so let's get into what kind of response. I mean, we just mentioned some of the stuff that's going on here in California, where, as Kenny pointed out, we do have a governor who despite his dreamy hair is not all that progressive, and is definitely a hurdle to overcome on our single payer efforts. Now, one of the things we've also seen here in California is those efforts get stifled before it reaches the governor. We had a very memorable situation a few years back where a guy named Anthony Rendon, who is actually not too terribly far from where I'm at, but he stabbed the single payer bill in the back before it even got up to the governor's desk or anywhere close to it. So those are the type of hurdles we're overcoming here in California. What type of hurdles exist in Washington State?
Well, I would really like to say that's why I love the initiative process. And you do have it in California. Because you don't need the governor to sign it into law. It's simple. Well, I mean, it's a lot of work, but the process is a lot more transparent and simple. It's straightforward. You get the signatures you need, gets on the ballot, people can vote for it. There's no having to worry about our senator Annette Cleveland here in Washington State taking tens of thousands of dollars for-profit insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies. And she holds the key to whether or not a bill like our bill, we had a bill, gets out of committee. And then we have Representative Eileen Cody, who's on the House Healthcare Committee, also takes tens of thousands of dollars from for-profit insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies. So here we have like these gatekeepers and our legislators who are completely, in my opinion, corrupted by the healthcare lobby. And they have refused to let any legitimate universal health care legislation that would actually create a universal health care system. They've refused to let those out of their committee. And I really feel like it's directly tied in to the fact that they're taking this money from those corporations. And also then we have our governor, who is similar. Like I could probably say everything the same as what you just said about Newsom, even nice hair. But I don't have any, I just can't imagine him signing a universal health care bill. He had a public option bill. He called it a public option. It wasn't even a public option. It's only available to those people who get their insurance coverage through the exchange. and it just capped people's premiums at 10% of their income. So that's still a lot of money. If you make $50,000 a year, that's $5,000. That's tough.
Well, but I will
and then-
say this. I will say this. Jay Inslee does have a very special gift that I think we all need to recognize here, if I'm just being totally fair and transparent. He managed to have the climate be his flagship issue and still managed to be the most boring person on the frickin' planet. That is, I mean, honestly, that's a Kaufman level gift there. I mean, I don't know how he pulled it off. It still mystifies me, but he did it. All power to him.
I really have to interject on behalf of the local climate activists that I know here in Tacoma. I mean, I'm sure you can already guess at this, Ron, but I just really have to say that he had no local support. It was all really fraudulent. Yeah, no, and I don't blame everyone for being confused about that, because we even had like AOC like lifting him up as some kind of a climate champion. But, you know, I know organizers here who have participated in the no LNG protests and who are very, very involved in climate action here. And they are not supportive of him at all. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there.
No, I appreciate you doing that. I mean, really, that's part of the mission here on Get Your News On with Ron, to tell you the truth. I just make a joke at someone's expense and just throw them under the bus because they're a politician and I don't respect them. And then somebody else actually gives the real meat. Someone lays out the real story. And that's sort of, that's the goal here, really. That's what I aim for. So let's get on to ballot initiative then, because that still, I mean, I totally understand what you're saying, like avoiding the, the kind of political barriers to an extent, but you also have a new set of barriers. First of all, getting public opinion on your side on a very mass level to get those signatures that you need. And then also, you're inevitably going to face a huge propaganda campaign by very deep pockets who are going to try to get Washingtonians to vote against an interest. So what do you have in place to kind of battle against that? And what have you seen so far?
Laura, do you want to take that one, or?
Well, I think
I can talk about it too.
You go ahead, Georgia.
Okay. With other state groups to kind of all at once run bills and ballot measures. That way, insurance companies have they have many targets, not just one state to focus on. That's kind of what happened in 2016 with Colorado. Colorado ran an initiative, they got on the ballot, and then they were the only game in town. And so the insurance company was able to really target that state with hundreds, well, I don't know if it was hundreds of millions of dollars, but it was tens of millions of dollars that definitely. They spent. So if we have multiple campaigns running at the same time, I feel like it's kind of like a game of whack-a-mole. It'll be harder for them to just focus on one, and one state might make it through. So there are a few states that are going to be running ballot initiatives in the next couple of years. And also there are so many. I think Maine and Massachusetts. I think Massachusetts filed theirs like a month ago.
Really?
But I know that there are some people, some organizations, DSA, I think, is considering filing one in California if their bill doesn't pass. So I think a lot of organizations are going to want to do something more concrete and tangible than keeping on making phone calls to their representatives, begging them to do something to save people's lives, where an initiative is very tangible. I'm tired of calling my representatives and saying, please support this bill. It gets very demoralizing after a time. They come up with all sorts of new excuses all the time why they won't do it. So that's why I like the initiative process. Like I said, it's clearer and it's tangible.
And I'll jump in right here just to say I'd like to give a shout out to Whole Washington has an Author of the Month book club the book club author of the month. So we have coming up soon will be Dr. Abdul Al-Sayed. And let's see, last time we had Wendell Potter. So please, if you're not subscribed to Whole Washington YouTube, please do that because you can see all of these. And then prior to that was Dr. Joe Jarvis. And I am from rural Utah, so I have a sort of special place in my heart and a special stake in. He has expressed interest in, forming up a health trust and getting together with organizers and doing all of the things that Whole Washington can sort of guide on what were the first steps, because they also have the ballot initiative process in Utah. So, and one of the things that so he wrote a book called Our Purple World, Healing the Farm in, there we go, there it is. And this is one of the reasons that I sometimes, and Fran has been crocheting berets in purple, in case anyone's just like really not a red person, and purple for kind of break the duopoly. Because I think we need to shatter this narrative. Here we have, he's a conservative doctor, and here he's written these books. We really need to begin to shatter the narrative that it's all just a bunch of leftist socialists who want and need healthcare. That's absolutely false. And okay. So you'll all check that book out. I've started reading it. I haven't made it very far because between organizing and tweeting and knitting, that's kind of where I'm at with it, but it's really good so far. I highly recommend it.
No, I think that's and that's a point that kind of gives you a little bit of hope that we're gonna get there on this thing, because I remember, I mean, Kenny, you brought up Obama. I remember in 2008, the candidate I was supporting in the primary was Dennis Kucinich, because he was the one who was really pushing for single payer healthcare. Yeah. And I remember a lot of the conversations I would have with people, even people who identified as being on the left, that they'd kind of look at me, they're like, single payer, come on, that's never going to happen. That's a pipe dream. Come on, get on board with Obama or Hillary or whatever else. Now you have people across the political spectrum that are ready for this and are kind of seeing through the propaganda that was force fed to them for 20, 30 years plus. So on that, how do you kind of, to somebody who is maybe just not familiar with what single payer is or how it actually works, how do you explain that to those voters?
Well, I like to talk about every other developed country and how they have universal health care and way better outcomes. Definitely, it depends on the audience. I'm in rural Eastern Washington, so I like to focus on how much money it will save and how it will help business owners. Because one big issue when you're starting a small business is, how am I even going to be able to afford insurance for myself? Not let alone my employees. Like, if I leave this corporation where I have good insurance, nobody really has good insurance when it comes down to it, but what we think is good insurance, I don't want to leave that. It's too risky. If I leave that, I might have to pay COBRA, which is thousands of dollars a month just for one person. So a lot of people don't start small businesses because of that, or they start small businesses and they find that the cost of insuring people, employees, and themselves is just too high. So it depends. Like I said, it depends on the audience. If I'm talking to people in this area, those are the two things I focus on. But a lot of the times somebody will say, "Oh, it's just too expensive. How will we cover everyone?" And I like to tell people, we already pay for it. We do. We just don't get it. We pay more than any other developed country, twice as much in most cases, and we don't insure everyone, which is it's so backwards. It's clear. I mean, we have our neighbors to the north who come down and talk to us all the time about Tommy Douglas and how he's one of the most popular people in Canadian history because he is the one who helped Saskatchewan get the first universal healthcare system. So those are the points that I like to make.
And what I want to focus on with, again, through filmmaking is telling the human stories, that are just becoming more and more prolific. Again, like back in sort of the pre-Obama era, I remember when this conversation would come up, the you would hear all the time, oh, we have like the Cadillac of healthcare. You know, who would want to give that up, you know, for a Chevy or something like that, right? Like we have this great system, and who would, you know, we don't want to mess that up. And I'm finding that rhetoric is really disappearing, because it is hard to find someone who hasn't been fundamentally failed by this. If it hasn't happened to you directly, it's happened to someone you know. It's happened to people in your family. I mean, being ruined economically or physically because of our healthcare system is becoming just a trait of being an American. That's just normal now. So shining a light on that is what I want to do. This polling keeps coming out that says 70% of Americans support universal health care. Well, 70% is not extreme leftists, right? That's centrist. That's going to be some Republicans. That's going to be some libertarians. So I think where the conversation has to go is kind of stripping out this identity politics and partisans, and getting to the fact that don't let them divide us. We agree on this. Like we all agree on this, and we can disagree about any number of other things and still work together to make this happen. Because ultimately, I just don't want to die. Is that asking too much? You know?
Yes, it is. Everybody dies, Kenny. I don't know why didn't you learn this yet?
I want to be immortal.
And you might as well make some profit for people
forever
while you die.
I don't want to die yet. Okay.
That we can work with.
Thank you.
We can work with.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, and I think you're right on, because Georgia. Oh wait, I did it. I always do this. There we go. Yeah. No, I'm still fucking it up. There you are. I'm doing it. You have to just do it the opposite way. I'm pointing at Georgia, and people listening to the podcast later are going to be like, what the, just don't point at all right? We're just listening to the audio. Shut up. Like, all right. But Georgia just gave a conservative argument for it. I mean, she just, because you said Eastern Washington, which leans a little more conservative than other parts of the state. So you're like, yeah, dude, I can tell you about it. But so you can make that economic argument that, yeah, this is a big hurdle in starting a small business. Imagine if you didn't have to worry about employees' health care and it was just taken care of. That'd be such a burden off of you, the small business owner. And, you know, the United States, they always make it out like they're rah small business. They're actually not, but that's a different story for a different day. But nonetheless, you can still make that argument.
Yeah.
Laura, what about you? Do you want to weigh in on this?
Well, I find, like, so when we did Ballot Initiative 1600, and we knew very much, like, the deadline was July 6th or something like that. And so we very much knew, like, probably a month or at least several weeks out, the trajectory that we were not going to make the ballot, barring some kind of seismic shift. But we still had so many dedicated volunteers out gathering until the very last day. And so myself and a few other organizers in Tacoma went down to the 4th of July events here. And that might be a place where you might potentially expect to find quite a few conservative people across the board, but certainly that. At least that was that's my preconceived notion about going down there. So we brought a canopy, went down there. I gathered up all the petitions that I had that had some signatures. They hold 20. Each petition costs about $1 to print and holds 20 signatures. And so I kind of gathered up all the ones that people had turned in and that I had that were incomplete. And my goal for the day was just simply, we're going to fill all of these out. And so whenever I got pushback or like, I don't even know if I'm for that, I would switch immediately to the corruption and money in politics and just, well, do you feel that our our members of, do you feel like our Congress or our representatives oh, hell no, they're corrupt as hell. It's like, okay, well, this is direct democracy. We can talk about, like, let's get it to the ballot. Do you think we should at least have a right to vote on it? And then everyone can make their choice once they've had a chance to look at the policy. So I think focusing on the anti-corruption and the thing about, because it's pretty much across the board that many people understand that our elected representatives are taking our tax dollars, their salaries, we pay their salaries, and then they are taking those tax dollars and then representing the billionaire class. That's pretty much across the board that many people can agree on that corruption that's taking place. So if I kind of think that I'm talking to someone who may be skeptical of the policy, I flip it to that, and it's quite, it's pretty effective.
So how many signatures do y'all need to get it on the ballot, and how far along are you in that process?
So because of the turnout for the last gubernatorial election, we actually need a whole heck of a lot more this year than we did in 2018. So it's about 350,000 valid signatures. So you want to overshoot that just in case people sign twice, or they're not actually registered voters, or they don't live in the state, that sort of thing. And we actually, the 10th was the first day we could file an initiative. We haven't quite filed it yet. We're waiting on some feedback from another organization, One Payer States. We want to make sure that our bill is as good as it can be, that single payer advocates are weighing in and making sure that it's solid. I think it's completely solid. It's an amazing piece of legislation, but we just want to make sure that it's vetted. And then once that happens, we plan on filing it Monday. Then it'll take a couple weeks for us to get a ballot title and summary back from the Attorney General. And at that point, we can print petitions. So the short answer is we haven't gathered any signatures yet because it's like the very beginning of the initiative process for this year.
So it goes, you file the policy first, and then you start gathering the signatures.
Yeah, they have to give you a ballot title and summary, which will also be what appears on the ballot. If you get the right amount of signatures, then that title and summary appears on the ballot and people can vote for it. So you have to have that on each petition. That's why you have to wait for that, so that people know what they're signing.
Now, I know that this can tend to vary by state. At least I'm pretty certain it does. But because of the pandemic, is there a way to gather signatures online, or is it still you have to just get the physical signature?
Yeah, unfortunately, it has to be what they call quote unquote wet signatures, which is in person with a pen. We tried to push for online signature gathering, but the Secretary of State shot it down. So we're coming up with some unique ideas for getting the amount of signatures we can safely. One way is to mail the petitions out to people's doorsteps, and we're going to be doing a bit of that. But like you said, I don't know if it was before the show or right when the show started. We're just kind of crossing our fingers that things will open up, because initiatives really do rely on big events like the Folklife Festival here in Seattle. Brings hundreds of thousands of people. In 2018, we gathered 7,000 signatures just at that one event. Then Pride Parade, hundreds of thousands of people, and marches, things like that. Farmers markets. Those are like the lifeblood of initiatives. You can collect tons of signatures really quickly. People will line up. If you have a petition that says, sign my petition to get universal health care, at one march, I had people like 10 to 20 people deep, just lined up ready to sign. So canvassing is kind of difficult with an initiative because it's just, you don't get a lot of signatures in a short period of time. So that's why big events are where it's at. So we're crossing our fingers that this COVID-19 thing goes away so that we can collect the signatures we need.
Folklife, that struck a heart chord over here with me. I used to love going to that. Are they going to try to have it this year? Do you know? Like, are they? Because I feel like it usually happens in the fall, right? It's like August, September-y. Is that right? I mean, I'm going on a distant memory here, so I could be wrong. Or is it earlier?
I thought it was like May or June.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and I know that Inslee just said that he's going to allow events, I think, with 200 or more people soon. I don't know, Laura, but I got that from Facebook, so I don't know if that's reliable information. I haven't confirmed it, but I read somewhere that he's going to allow events to open up that have more people.
Well, and folk life is mostly outdoors too, so it sounds like there's a chance something like that could totally happen. I think I don't know why I thought. Well, Bumper Shoot is the one that's end of August, right? Isn't Bumper? Is that still okay?
We have, and certainly I'm not refuting the fact that we need things to open up, and that those that we will rely heavily, at least in hopefully the latter part of the year, on big gatherings and events. But also, Whole Washington hasn't stopped organizing at any point since 2018. So we've really worked on outreach and everything that we've been doing. Towards the legislative process, and we've done a lot of outreach. So I would say that a lot more people know about us, standing right where we're at, and have endorsed. So we can mobilize a lot more people. So I don't know, how that's going to stack up, but certainly. And now we have some independent media coverage for us. We were just really like the newcomers to the block, and hopefully. We'll get into talking about this event that's coming up, but I just think, the momentum and people learning about all of this, and in the time of COVID, we just have a lot tipping the scale more in our favor than we did just trying to rise up, But sure. I just want to echo what Georgia opened up with at the beginning. I also find it really difficult to understand when people are not friendly to the ballot initiative process. I was completely new to organizing when a nurse introduced me to Whole Washington. And so it's only been through Whole Washington that I've learned about organizing and coalition building. And 2018 that's still my most fond and amazing memories as an organizer. That's still like at the top of pulls at my heartstrings. I will always love Initiative 1600. I will never, ever look back at that as we failed to get universal health care to the ballot. We became a family in 2018. And now we have, we're connected up. Jason Call is coming down here, to be interviewed and to be part of our action. It brings the state together on so many levels. So I also, like Georgia, could go on and on about the merits of the ballot initiative process. And so I don't understand. And we have so little, in fact, we have zero evidence that the legislative route stacks up. So I think it's time for people to start pouring a little or a lot more love. I'll quote Georgia. I'm starting to do it a lot. She says, well, she refers to Whole Washington as her candidate. And if passed, a ballot initiative will do what it says it will do. Right. So, I donated a whole bunch of times to Bernie Sanders. I've donated to a lot of grassroots candidates. I'll continue, although I'm very discerning now about who I'll actually donate to. I have to really see them doing the labor and not just tweeting about things. But I ask people, if you donated to Bernie Sanders, hoping that, electing the most progressive president would hopefully yield the results of Medicare for all. If getting people into Congress to try to get a bigger progressive bloc for Medicare for all is a pathway that you've supported financially, I ask you to please look at wholewashington.org and treat it as a very serious pathway to opening. Because I've been saying Whole Washington can open the floodgates for the United States of America. And I think my framing is a little bit wrong. It's more like the United States can help Whole Washington open the floodgates for the United States of America, And again, right in solidarity with, New York Health Act and California. It's not a competition of who does that. It's just simply, let's link arm in arm and be like a united front moving towards this. It's only going to be, I think somehow people get really territorial, this is my effort, this is our bill, this is our organization. And there's room for everybody, at least everyone that's forgetting the profit motive out of healthcare. And we only lift ourselves up by linking arms and lifting up everyone else who is in this fight with us. So, that's my call to action. And yesterday I donated, because I voted to press forward with the ballot initiative process this year. And I made my donation to Whole Washington, so that's a big plug. I'm asking everyone who's watching if you have donated to candidates and if you can chip in just a little bit. Oh, and can I say one more thing, Ron? Since I'm like on and on and on. Yeah. You have this thing where you're asking people to chip into your Patreon if they want a song written. Can you tell me what it is?
Oh no, I just have a Patreon like most content creators, and one of the perks that I offer is I'll do a theme song for folks if they ask for one.
Okay, well, I'm going to donate today, and I'm asking people to chip in if they would like to see you write a song asking Representative Jayapal to please endorse Whole Washington.
That's good.
So
that's good.
I don't know if you've got some inspiration for that, but that's.
Oh, I can make it happen. I mean, I already did one for Whole Washington that I had a lot of fun making for y'all, and I hope y'all are enjoying it and it's helpful. And so yeah, totally.
So maybe all the whole Washington folks that are watching here, that's a toss-up. Donate to Whole Washington today, or donate a buck to Whole Washington, and then also let's. I'd really like to. We're going to do the work either way, whether we get Representative Jayapal's endorsement or not. We're ready to go. That's what we've been doing since the beginning. But I would really like to push forward, asking our progressive leaders in this movement to return the solidarity that we continue to show for their legislation, because we absolutely support their legislation and we organize for it, and we organize barnstorms and this event on Friday. So
yeah, and we're going to get into the event right now. I think that's a perfect transition to start talking about the event specifically. But I really echo a lot of what you just said, and I've said similar things. When you give to a cause or an organization or an initiative, you know exactly where your money and efforts are going. When you give to a candidate, well, they might decide to quit at a random time, and then that's it. And so I'm a lot like you. I mean, I don't. Most of my efforts as far as organizing go, they go to causes. They don't go to candidates. And even, what I can give financially, they go to causes. And the only exception to that is at the local level. I mean, there's a couple folks running for city council that I will definitely be giving to financially, and then trying to give some time to as well. But outside of that, it's like, no, I'm causes, not candidates. I just think, and it just feels better. You just feel better. I mean, when you see what groups like Whole Washington are doing, you're just like, yeah, let's. This is a fight I'm on board with. This is a fight I want to see. I want to see a victory in. So let's go to the event. I'm going to pull this up. Red Berets and Medicare for All in Whole Washington. Enough is enough. The Medicare for All sit-in is happening at Representative Kilmore's Tacoma office this Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. So what is Rep Kilmore's deal? What do they have to do with all this?
Well, he's chair of the New Democrats. He had a primary challenger, Rebecca Parson, and she ran a good campaign. There was a lot of outreach, a lot of phone banking. She had some very strong endorsements, and her primary challenge did not happen to move him to support Medicare for All. Nevertheless, we are doing this action, and we're pressing on it again. You know, it takes a lot to move a corporate Democrat, especially with, I'm sure, the marching orders from the Biden campaign to not move on Medicare for all. Let's just be really, really clear on that. But yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to show up with our chairs and our red berets and our whole Washington T-shirts. Those people who show up who don't have them, we'll have some extras for you if you want to chip in. We're going to get them on people's heads regardless, even if you can just chip in a little bit. But here, look at these beautiful Bernie's mittens, mittens for Medicare. They were inspired by the crafter in Vermont, Jen something, who knit for Bernie. There we go. And then, you know, big special thanks to Fran Bauer, friend Sylvia's daughter, who has shipped a big package of red berets, and we have our COVID masks that I'm going to be. This is an old school style one by Kat, Kentucky Mountain Woman. It says Medicare for all. Is it upside down?
Oh, awesome. Very cool.
But, you know, with the strings, but she's got a newer and improved model, and we'll be wearing all of that stuff. Yay.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah. So
I got mine. This is the only way I can get it on over my headphones. I'm probably wearing it wrong, but this is the best I can do right now.
There's no wrong way. Yeah.
Can I jump in about Kilmer?
Yes.
Yes.
So a lot of people look at Washington State and they go, oh, it's such a liberal state. You know, it's run by Democrats. I think even people here in Washington take it for granted that every one of our elected officials is just on board with Medicare for all. I mean, I give presentations sometimes, like indivisible groups, and I'm like, yeah, he hasn't co-sponsored Medicare for all ever in Kilmer's district. And they go, what? So I think that we really need to do a better job. Organizations like ours need to do a better job exposing the fact that these elected officials are not getting on board. And whether or not that has anything to do with their campaign donations, which I think it has a lot to do with that, it's beside the point. They need to get on board. We elected that. Washington State overwhelmingly supports Medicare for all. It's in our state Democratic Party platform. Resolution after resolution has been passed through the party, demanding these representatives get on board with the legislation, and they refuse to move. So part of the reason why we wanted to do this event is to really get lots of visibility, just because many people still don't know that Representative Kilmer isn't a co-sponsor. In fact, we only have 2 co-sponsors here in Washington State. The main sponsor, Pramila Jayapal, and then Adam Smith. And Adam Smith had a good primary challenge a few years back, and that's when he co-sponsored. So, and then our 2 Democratic senators have never co-sponsored it in the Senate either. So I feel like that's one of the priorities of this event, is just to get a lot of great imagery so we can post it all over social media and just let people know, since I don't think that they do know, that Democrats like Kilmer are not on board yet, and we need to move them.
That's absolutely right. One of the big arguments that we saw quite a bit of progressive-y types during the whole force the vote debate, people were saying, oh, we know who all of these people are. We all know who's co-sponsoring. We're talking, that was completely false. Just like Georgia said, anytime when I've gone to Pierce County Democrats and organized and brought some berets and everything, talked to people who go regularly to meetings who actually think Senator Cantwell and Murray, and this is no insult to them, they think that because all of these politicians say healthcare is a human right. And of course, to all of us, healthcare is a human right means, of course, they're for Medicare for all. They're for achieving healthcare justice. So that was a completely false argument, because the overwhelming majority of people, just as Georgia just said, do not actually know how many Democrats are working overtime to block healthcare justice. So, just thought I'd bring that up and shout out to Force the Vote, because it really is about accountability and about moving this out into the public eye of exactly how much opposition there is among corporate Democrats, so.
Absolutely. And you can talk a good game when the cameras are on, and you can tweet a good game from your phone or your computer, but how are you going to vote when push comes to shove? And so, yeah, I'm with you 110%. Well, where can people go to learn more about the organization, to get involved, to learn about the event on Friday, and to potentially participate in the event on Friday if they're in Washington State? Where can people go for all that?
Well, our website is fantastic, wholewashington.org. You can actually sign up to pledge to collect signatures right on our volunteer form, which is wholewashington.org/volunteer. You can donate there. You can see all the upcoming events there. We have weekly volunteer meetings, different committees people can serve on. Even if you're not in Washington State, if you have like communication experience and can help write articles, that sort of thing, you can help from wherever you are. So that's where I would say wholewashington.org. We also have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, if you can believe it. And that's all at Whole Washington.
I'm on TikTok. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'll post. I do a series where a bunch of political parties are college roommates called the Political Party Roommates, and those videos are short, and I post those videos on TikTok, but that's all I do. I don't really know. I don't really know how to use it per se, but I am on it. So everyone go to wholewashington.org. Let me acknowledge a few chatters here. Lucky Burrito Art and Music. How are y'all? I hope everything's going well. I hope the animals are great. Couldn't move back home to Washington because of lack of health care. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, and hopefully that is changing. Hopefully that's going to be changing, and that's going to be changing fast. Sharif over on the Rockfin. Thank you, Ron, for bringing on Laura today. Absolutely. More social actions for Medicare for All is on the way. Absolutely. I'm with you. And yeah, thank you all so much for doing what you do. It is infinitely important. And again, to everyone listening, go to wholewashington.org. Find out how you can get involved. This isn't just a state effort in Washington State. This is an effort for the entire country. Or find out how you can get involved in your state with single payer efforts. And does anyone want to say anything in closing? Anything you want to promote, plug?
I want to ask Kenny if he will let people know how, when he releases his work, that's because it's not just the action. He is doing an entire weekend of filming here in Tacoma, where we're interviewing around 20 people, pulling in people from all different aspects of the healthcare justice perspective. And so I would like him to speak about how people could follow what he releases from the weekend.
Sure. And for me, that weekend is just the beginning of a big process where we'll be following movements in other states as well, talking to people like we described that are across the whole political spectrum that support universal health care, and really trying to tell this story that it's time. It's just time. We're all done waiting and we're ready for something major to happen. And if you want to know more about that and follow that, you can just follow me on Twitter at Kenny Ballantyne, or my website, which is just kenny.fun. .fun. That's me.
That's awesome. That's kenny.fun.
That's me, kenny.fun.
Perfect, man. That is spectacular. Well, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Georgia. Thank you, Kenny. And thank you for so much that y'all do. And the send-off, we're going to alter it a little bit. Lucy, she says single payer meow, and I say single payer now, and Georgia says single payer now. I'm screwing up the pointing again. I'm just going to point randomly, and everyone, you're all on the screen, but Laura says single payer now, and Georgia says single payer now, and Kenny says single payer now, and I say single payer now, because it's time. And it's been time. So thanks so much for being here, everybody. We'll see you next time. wholewashington.org. Check it out. Support what they do, because this is infinitely important. Thank you guys for doing what you do. Thank you for the lovely beret. And we'll see y'all next time. Peace.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ron.